So good morning, everyone. I am Cheryl Lynn, and we are in the studio today, and we have the amazing Lisa Levy on the phone with us. And so good morning, Lisa, first of all.
Good morning, Cheryl Lynn. How are you?
I'm very good. Thanks for being here. So I'm going to let you brag on yourself. I know you're a best-selling author, you're nationally recognized authority to help people adapt, or CEOs to adapt and thrive. But tell me a little bit more about Lcubed Consulting and what that's all about.
Absolutely. So Lcubed Consulting started about 12 years ago. I had been working in corporate America, working in the field really of project management, and watched the companies I worked for bring in lots of consultants. And consultants are awesome. I am one now. So it's not that I think that it's a bad discipline, but traditionally what consulting can do really leaves leaders in this lurch of they've invested a lot of money
Mm,
and they're given a strategic plan, they're given guidelines and insights and things to do, but then they don't know how to do them.
mm,
And I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I really wanted to help them make those things real.
right.
And so L Cubed was formed to do that. And in that time, we have built out our adaptive transformation framework. And we take all of those best practices that large corporations use and we use them differently. And we take project management and process management and organizational change management and we embed them into corporate culture so that every employee gets the skills and the capabilities to get things done. It's been a great ride.
I know. And we talked a little bit the other day, and the amount of research and work you've put into that process is extensive. So it's pretty fabulous. Um, I hope that CEOs are finding and utilizing the need. I know it's important. So where would you say that is on the scale? I know we had the common ground in our conversation the other day about joy. Like that is your ultimate goal, right? Is to make sure that through all your processes, people are living joyfully at the end of the day. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, right. Isn't it important that we work smarter, not harder? And that we work because it's required, right? You need to earn a living. We need to put food on our tables. But really, at the end of the day, isn't it about finding joy and being able to go and do those things that bring joy, whether it's family or adventure? But work is the means to the end, not the end itself. And I want people to learn how to be more effective and letting them put more of a priority then on everything else that I think really matters more.
Beautiful. I'm going to leave you in speaker mode because you look so fabulous in that chair of joy. So, in case everybody's just going, what in the world are these two doing? So, my company is called Joyly Studios. And of course, this is the chair of joy. And we're having an amazing experience with Lisa today. So, follow along. You're going to have lots of fun. And Lisa's never sat in the chair of joy before. So, this is her first experience as well. What an honor to have you here. Thank you so much. And you look just fabulous today.
The honor's mine. I mean, the chair of joy is such a beautiful idea. And taking something that is, the pursuit of joy can sometimes seem abstract, but
Yes.
by giving it the chair, right, we've taken our moment and saying, here and now, this is the purpose, this is the point. And I am so thrilled to be in the chair of joy with you.
Well, good. Well, I hope you had your coffee because this is going to be up and down. There's a lot of emotion that goes along with this. So I'm thrilled to share it with you and millions of others across the nation. But thank you for saying that. I want to quote Joseph Campbell this morning. He says, find a place inside where there's joy, and the joy will burn out the pain. So, like you just said, people kind of put joy at the back burner and they rarely sit down and think about and process all the amazing success and the amazing amount of impact that they've already created in the world in all of the years that they've been here. So um, think about your journey just a little bit in all the years, right? Like, where have you been? What have you done? It's been fabulous. But may I ask, do you take time to sit still and recall all of the success?
Oh, the reflecting time, probably not as much as I should.
Okay.
I try and I teach right? The idea of taking time to think for our business. And it's important as leaders to stop doing some of the time and just quietly reflect. And I think when we had our first conversation together and we were talking about your vision of joy for the world, I had sort of an aha moment of, wow, we're talking about it in a business perspective, and then you want to take it into the home and take it into the family. And for me personally, um, it was only about not even 9 years ago that I found true joy in family.
Mm,
I had been married, divorced, had been single for a long time, and came into a new situation with, the love of my life and his teenagers,
yes.
which terrified me. I have no children. I had a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old, and wow. But we found, without knowing we were looking for it, joy in the simple pleasure of sitting down and having dinner together as a family on a regular basis. I mean, like 5 nights a week, 6 nights a week, we sat around the table. We cooked together, we sat down, we laughed, we cried, we shared things that were going on. But that was probably the first time in my adult life that I had found joy in family.
Yes. Well,
And wow.
powerful, wasn't it? And that's exactly what we're talking about, even bringing this chair into corporate America, which we'll get to. So let's talk about you for right now. We're just going to do our little process here, and then we'll wrap it up on the end with all this amazing stuff from a CEO's perspective, which I'm grateful to have from you today. So I would like to welcome you to your chair of joy today. So if you could just sit back, I don't know if your phone's off or what's going on, but just if you could just relax and just know that we're not doing anything else for the next 20 minutes or so. It's just about you and me and our conversation. So just be as frank as you can and say whatever comes to your heart if you feel so inclined. So, welcome again to the Chair of Joy. And I just want to emphasize for people listening that for today's purposes, this is a virtual room, and Lisa is sitting in a chair of joy virtually, as I am. But my chair of joy is actually in the living room, and I use this scarf as a throw over, and it reminds me where my chair of joy is. So I just want to reflect that wherever your chair of joy is, whether it be on a log outside in the woods or a park bench or wherever it is. But thank you today, Lisa, for sitting in our virtual chair of joy. It helps, again, define and reflect, and it symbolizes sitting still. So I want you to take a deep breath, if you will, and there's no judgment, there's no right or wrong. And if something doesn't come to you right away, don't worry about it. And we'll just keep the flow. So if you don't mind, I want you to just shake your shoulders a little and take a deep breath. Thank you. And we're going to do one more. Breathe in for 4. And I want you to see if you can tap into that one moment of the moment of joy that you said. Maybe it was the family event that you talked about, or maybe it's something else. Just see if you can see it in Technicolor, like where were you? Who were you with? And exhale. We're going to do it one more time. Breathe in. We're going to look for that second jewel of joy. Where were you? How old were you? What was fascinating to you at the time? Why was everything just clicking for you then? And exhale. All right. Were you able to come up with 2, first of all?
Yes.
All right. Do you mind describing them to me quickly? Not quickly, as much time as you like.
So the first one, just recency and primacy, right? Sitting around family dinners, especially right now because we're not doing those things as we're social distancing and taking different care. So the idea of actually being around the table with the kiddos and now their loved ones, and that would be an outstanding experience. The second image that came to mind was sitting on a beach in Jamaica, sun on my face, waves on my toes. I'll be honest, a cocktail in my hand, just timed out, right? No technology, no interruptions, no distractions, just sun and waves.
And I can feel that, can't you, right now? I got goosebumps thinking about it. So I want you to just let that feeling go. I'm doing it right now with you. It's just that I've been on so many beaches in the world, and that feeling of going through your whole body, like just let the joy resonate inside of you. And as we were saying earlier, like oh my God, these are such epic moments, but when do we stop long enough to tap into them? So I wondered if you were to give the family event around the table and you sitting on the beach, the two moments, a connecting word, what might that be? What would be the thread that brought those two things together? What is the essence of those moments for you? Does a word come to mind?
Peace.
Peace. Talk to me about that.
Peace. There's no dissonance, right? There's no conflict, there's no challenge, there's just enjoyment and quiet, although family dinners aren't not necessarily quiet,
Mhm.
but it's a different kind of a noise, right? It's the joyful noise, it's the laughter, it's the, teasing and the jest, and it's peaceful, it's calm, it's safe. I guess if we want to take it further down, safe might be the underlying thread.
I totally agree. And peace can mean, that's why I asked you, tell me about that, because peace means very different things to people, right? It could, yeah. So the peace of knowing that you got to the table at the end of the day and your family's there still to love you and support you is such a beautiful, calming, safe feeling. Like you said, I love that. All right, I'm going to ask you to be a little more creative again. So I would say I would ask you to imagine a container, right? We always
Mhm.
put things in our whatever. So imagine a container. If you were to put your piece in a container, can you describe what the container might look like?
The first image that came to mind is a ship in a bottle.
Oh.
I have no idea where that just came from, but right, it's something, the container is clear. You
Mhm.
can see into it. What's in it is it's a specific thing, right? I have no idea what kind of ship is in a bottle, but it's something that it's visual. It's not something that you're hiding away. It's something that what you're putting into it has taken care and time to create. I mean, creating a ship in a bottle is an art form,
Mhm.
and it's something that's precious, and it's a little bit fragile, and it needs to be not necessarily cared for but respected.
Hmm. Interesting. I've never heard it quite said like that. But how does that reflect on who you are? Gentle, fragile, the integrity of it, putting it together.
Maybe, possibly there's also that part of me that is a tad bit of a bull in a china shop and has to remember to stop and to take care and to show respect to the things around me, the people around me. I think from the idea of the container, the fact that it is clear, right? That it isn't something hidden, it is something to be shared and enjoyed. I think that's kind of what triggered that image.
I love that. So that takes me perfectly to my next question. So, some people's containers can't fit on an airplane, but it seems like that would be an easy thing for you to hang on to and carry onto a plane. So, imagine yourself walking off the Tamarack and you have your beautiful ship in a bottle, and you wanted to push that essence of the peace that you were just talking about to the world, to the people on the Tamarack. What might you say to them? Like, what's your legacy? What would you want people to know?
That's a big question.
Isn't
Uh,
I know, but except you're in this chair of joy, so you have to answer because
I have to
you're
answer
not
the
going
question.
anywhere.
So what I would want to share with that idea is that the things that really matter to us take time,
Mm,
and we're not going to get it right the first time, and there's going to be trial, and there's going to be error, and there's going to be success, and there's going to be failure. But we need to embrace and be willing to go through all of it, because each step of it, each success, each failure, each win, each loss, every lesson we learn makes us who we are. And without experiences, that bottle would be very empty.
mm. Man, that was beautiful. Thank you very much. Wow. So let's just say that you had the opportunity to give that bottle, that piece in the bottle, the ship in the bottle to someone today. Who might that be and why?
So the first person that came to mind is my granny.
Oh,
So she's 92 years old and a huge influence on who I am. But in our world today, all of our worlds have gotten very small.
mm,
And she is 92 years old and, kind of not self-reliant any longer and lives with my aunt. And is the fragile thing that requires care. And she's also a cantankerous old bat. And said with all the love and admiration that I have for her, because she is quite significant to me. But to have her be able to hold something to remember that her journey has created so much, and that while she is isolated and trapped and can't do the simple things that she likes to do, getting her hair done on Fridays, going out for lunch and a cocktail afterwards, it's just not where we're at. And if she had something tangible that would be a reminder of everything that has happened in 92 years to bring her to this point, that maybe she could find some joy and just be in the moment and not, resent what she can't do right now.
I love that. I wonder if you could put me and you in her hands, in her heart, in her body for just a second. And now she's holding this beautiful container of peace and the ship in the bottle. What do you think what's her response? What's her reaction? Where's she going?
Oh, she's a salty old thing. And she'd go, I just don't understand what you're going after, Lisa. This is crazy. It would be much more colorful in the language too.
She is a feisty one. I get it. I get it.
Yes, yes. But
Huh?
if that little bottle were then sitting on her dresser and something that she could see over time, she would find the joy. She would never actually admit to it,
Hmm.
but she would find it, and that would be good.
I can feel her. Does she have lots of grandkids?
There are 5 of us grandkids. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Beautiful.
yeah, there are a few of us.
So, what do you think? Well, first of all, thank you for sharing your story. I've not seen anyone put a ship in a bottle and have it described quite as clearly and heartfelt as you did. So I really appreciate that. Maybe you could just chat a little bit about the experience of kind of discovering the ship in the bottle. Tell me kind of what went through your mind as you were doing this. I'm curious.
That was so spontaneous. It appeared. Um, there are so many things, I think, in life that have been put into containers, into dark places, and squirreled away to never, in theory, be seen or heard from again. That being able to create something for joy was so unlike what we do in life day in and day out, more often than not, that it was just it was incredibly spontaneous.
Right. The point being, after all this is said and done, where are you in your day on a scale of 1 to 10, focusing on that piece? Where are you in your heart when you get up in the morning, you go through your busy day, and you lay down your head at night again? Where was your peace level?
We're at a transition time, so it has been very low. I have been very busy. I have been dealing with clients and work and taking care of commitments and honoring all of that. And during self-isolation, right, there are 24 hours in the day of being in one space and never stopping.
Mm.
Um, about 6 weeks ago, I had to create new rules, and I had to start making myself a priority again. And, simple things like, exercise,
Mm.
right? And making that time. And so I have, over the past 6 weeks, carved out an hour of the day that is mine. Um, for me, that is a little bit of boxing and some kickboxing, balanced out with some Pilates to just kind of give me some calm, burn off some energy, and then, other days to just find it sort of that calm. Um, this time is different.
Yeah. I really appreciate your honesty about that. I think everyone's in that place, especially this whole Zoom world that we find ourselves in. Are we in? Are we out? Are we on? Are we off? Are we up? Are we down? What am I doing? Right? It's just, there's so, I mean, it's enjoyable being home, but there is a different kind of demand. And I don't think we're used to it. Right? I think it's as simple as that. It's a new habit.
It's new habit. And it, in my career with my business, I work from home more often than not, but there's something different about this world where, it's harder. You can't go to the grocery store on a whim, and if you do, you need your mask and you need your hand sanitizer and all of the things that we go through.
Mhm.
um, I am a quiet and sort of introverted personality, and so being in my home space is very comforting. except when I want to not be. And I can't go, to the corner bar and sit and listen to live music, which is one of the things that it gives me balance and sanity. And so, yeah, everything is a little bit different. And we have to own those moments when we're feeling cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. They're real and they happen. And with that, I have tried to turn off my technology every other weekend. I have tried to do some things to create the space for me that is different than my business.
I love that. Good for you. Well, you look fabulous. So whatever you're doing is, just working.
You're
Um,
awesome. Thank you.
so let me ask you, after today and your first experience in the chair of joy, if I were to ask you to look around in your house or just get a sense of your rooms, and what is the place that you might call your chair of joy area? Do you have a specific, it doesn't have to be a chair, it could be a stool, it could be porch, it could be a park bench down.
Oh, yeah, it's the recliner out by the pool chair, or by the pool, right? Stretch out, sit in a little sun,
And you're in
relax.
Arizona.
I'm in Arizona, so we get to do that a lot. Um, in the non-traditional times, right? Summer is probably when I'm out there the least because it's too hot. But right now, taking some time and just sitting and enjoying it, it's important.
So may
That's
I ask you, yeah, may I ask you to find some sort of little something, something, gold,
Mhm.
my preference, but whatever your preference is, and lay it on the chair and see if you can find yourself in that chair of joy 3 to 4 times a day.
3 to 4 times
A day.
a day.
Five
Okay.
minutes
Okay.
tops. It might only even be 1 or 2 minutes. I sat in my chair of joy the other day and I was having a moment, and I usually only allow myself 90 seconds to have a moment. So angry, sad, something happened. It was rejection. I thought it was all about me, right? And
Yeah.
so I run over to my chair of joy because I could feel it just coming and it was driving me nuts and the stress of it. And what am I going to do? And I just went over in the chair of joy and I sat down and I took 2 deep breaths. And I imagined the first one was I was on a mountain in Yosemite, and the other one was walking along a lake with a new boyfriend that I haven't thought about that in a long time. Not the current one, but a past one. And it was, we saw moose. And I just remember going, oh, those were cool things. And that's all that matters, just like you said, right? And then I let it just resonate with me again. And I got back to work faster than lightning. And it only literally took 2 minutes.
That
It's a
is inspiring.
it's a different kind of meditation. Like I always meditate morning and night, but I think a lot of times take a deep breath. People don't get like, what am I supposed to do with this? Right? Okay, I'm breathing.
I get that.
I'm closing my mind. I'm trying really hard not to think about anything else, but I'm suggesting think about something. Think about what gives you joy and let it resonate and do it. How many memories? I don't know. I'm not going to give you any age guesses here, but how many memories do you have that are joyful?
There are joyful memories, right? There lots of them, a lifetime's worth.
So they're not going to run out in one day was my point. Right?
Fair point.
So yes, may I ask you to challenge yourself to do it once a day, 2 or 3 times is better, but maybe for you or whatever works for you. But
And make it a priority.
yeah. All right, back to the corporate world of this process. I am curious. Again, we were talking the other day that you just blew my mind, and I'm coming to the world to try to also not try. I already have shift some people shift the paradigm around the chair of joy for children, the timeout chair. I think there's something else going on in the family, that we can start a new generation of joyful humans. And I'm not clear 100% what that looks like, but it doesn't have to unfold today. It's unfolding as we go. But what do you think the chair of joy might have as an implication, A, in families, like you already talked about, and B, in corporate America?
So from the family perspective, right? I don't have little kids and didn't raise them. So, the timeout chair to me conceptually was kind of a cool thing because, right, there's a place for them to go. But what if there was a place for them to go because it's a positive and not a negative, and it's not about, you know, bad behavior, but it's about rewarding positive behavior and celebrating it. That is so, intriguing to me. On the corporate side, having the chair of joy in, the boardroom, and having that opportunity to have people come through and actually share and celebrate and revel in all of the good things that happen, because really we lose track of that. We get so caught up in problems and solutions and the next problem and the next goal that we stop really enjoying the small moments. And that's where you build morale, and that's how you build corporate culture. And if you really want to focus on those things, it's important that there's a place and a way to do it. And initially it's probably going to feel a little strange, right? Sitting in the chair and saying, I am joyful because, today everything went the way we hoped it would,
Right.
rather than here are the 10 things that went wrong, or 7 things went right. And there are 3 things that were still, like turning and focusing on positives and the celebration of that to build the momentum to get into the things that aren't always so pretty. I think it's necessary.
Isn't work our play, our work, our life? Like, isn't it who we are? So what's wrong with that?
Well, you started all of that with the word vulnerable, which is a very interesting word to me, um, in that we're talking about it more right now
Yeah.
than ever before. And people who are talking about it it's everybody. It's men, it's women, it's owning and being human for the first time in our professional worlds, right? It's being on a Zoom call and somebody has their toddler bouncing on their knee, because we are all at home and the boundaries have been eradicated. And one of those things, and I'll throw it back at the old lady. My grandmother instilled this sense of never show your weakness, right? You're a woman in business. Never let them see you sweat, because women are weak.
Mhm.
And oh my God, that drives me so crazy. But it is so instilled in me that as we're having conversations and having, like today, right? And heaven forbid we could ever talk about joy in the workplace. What? But to get to it, we have to own being human. And being human is being vulnerable. And there's a lot that we're not in control of right now. So this is a perfect time to bring joy into the equation and into the dialogue, because we are willing to say, I am vulnerable. And that is so different than how I was trained and brought up in my career. And, Cheryl, you have this opportunity right now to plant these seeds that, as we develop and figure out how we're going, back to work in force, and, will there ever be offices the way there were before? And will we have a place to put a chair of joy, or do we have to create them in our homes, in which we're then building it for our work and our family? And how brilliant is that?
Absolutely. I have two questions in there,
Yep.
just because I know you've been in many boardrooms over the years. First one, talk to me about the chair of joy and men.
I don't know that I can speak for men. I'm not one, but I do think that for people, right, sitting in the chair of joy for the first time, especially in a room in a physical sense with people around, I have to imagine that that might feel a little uncomfortable, right? You're the center of attention, there's focus, there's attention, and you are going to feel things, and we will have emotions, and people will see that and experience it with us. And that fear of being judged, right? When the whole, you started out today, there is no judgment, right? This is just, it is what it is. And, crazy, whatever crazy things come out of my mouth are all okay. And I so appreciate that.
Absolutely.
But right, with a couple of other people around, that first couple of experiences might be a little uncomfortable.
Exactly.
And I think that that's also a good thing, right? We have to be able to work from a point of discomfort to comfort. Um, Rainbows and unicorns aren't the norm, and getting to the place of joy will require letting go of some things that don't cause joy. And you have to deal with those and let them be and put them, go through them to get to the other side.
Exactly. And that was my other question, came out perfectly at the right time. But wouldn't I always like to suggest that if joy were first, if you instead of let the success drive the train, or to, ROI drive the train, like what if we put joy in the front seat, right? And if we did that, isn't it possible that on the other side, like you just said, there is the prosperity, the abundance, the peace, and it all clicks much faster, and the ROI is continuing to go up. The people are happy, their joy levels go up at work and at home. Wouldn't you agree?
I think that breaking this cycle of focusing on the negatives, the challenges, and leading with joy is probably a really good path to accomplishing more, right? Because in the celebrations, in the in reveling in that ability to lead with the positive, lead with the success, I think that over time, right, as it grows, the others decrease. And so, yes, the equation has, the balance has changed, and that is fruitful for business and it's fruitful for our lives. I am a big believer in the big, hairy, audacious goals, right? We've got to have that target that we're working towards that may or may not be achievable. I am not going to try and qualify it. I don't want to put boundaries. But if we don't have something to build towards, right? Dream big. And if you achieve the dream wasn't big enough. Keep going. So I absolutely love that. And partly because I'm not really good at it. Right. I want my little check marks that say, okay, I accomplished it. And that's not the point. The point is, if we're going to transform, if we're going to disrupt, if we're going to make a difference, it has to sound just a little bit crazy to start with. Will you realize it in its entirety? Who knows?
Almost.
Who knows?
Not the
But
point.
if you don't even try, I know what the answer is.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And I think that applies to everything and anything. Like, create something and go for it, and ask for the support. I mean, you and I, members of C-suite, we absolutely are supported on whatever comes our way. So I have no problem writing something down and sharing it with one of my fellow C-suiters, because it's going to be okay, right? And I think
Absolutely.
everyone needs to find those people in their lives. Your work is brilliant. And last words, final words, I just want to say thank you very much for being my, one of a few guests that have had the opportunity to sit in the virtual chair, because I'm just playing with it and seeing, the flow. And I want feedback from you about, is 2 to 3 times of sitting in your chair of joy out on your deck a possibility? And if it were, what does that look like and feel like for you? I'm curious, really curious.
I am going to give it my best effort. Once or twice a day to 3 to 4 times. We'll build up to it. Practice makes perfect,
Yep.
but it sounds right. It's an opportunity for me to give myself time. And that is something we all deserve.
Absolutely. And this, you're giving yourself time also makes you tap into grandma. Like, I bet right after this, you might even reach out to grandma and say, guess what? I talked to you about you today. Like, it's not always just about the person in the chair. It's the transformation that happens when they're sitting in the chair and whose lives they're going to impact. So, and also I set my chair of joy on my phone. And Peter Winters had a good idea where he sets a hard stop at the 55-minute marker. So he's got the 5 minutes so he can go run off, and everything doesn't have to run up right to the next thing. You know what I'm saying? So
We need to be better about that, everybody. Yeah.
well, thank you so much. Any final words?
Thank you. I am so grateful and honored that we had this conversation, that you invited me in to sit in the virtual chair of joy. I'm heading off for a long holiday, so this was the best way to tie up everything, and I will leave with a sense of peace and harmony, and looking forward to spending some time with family.
Lisa Levy, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.